Let us begin with a statement you may find difficult, even impossible, to believe. Every problem you have ever experienced is an illusion. Every fear, every failing, every sense of lack or unworthiness. None of it is real. You have been laboring under a universal hypnosis, a deep sleep of the senses that has convinced you there is something to fix, something to improve, something wrong at the very core of your being. This is the great lie. This is the veil that must be pierced. What if the very foundation of your suffering is a misperception of who and what you are? What if the peace you seek is not something to be acquired, but something to be recognized as already and eternally present within you? In this sacred encounter, we will not add to your knowledge. We will undertake a far more profound task. We will strip away everything that you are not to reveal the glorious and perfect identity that has always been there, untouched by the world's judgments. If you are ready to be wakened, to have this veil lifted, then your presence here is no accident. It is a response to an inner call. Acknowledge this divine impulse by consecrating your journey. Join this communion of seekers by subscribing to this channel. And if you feel the stirring of truth, mark this moment by commenting the number key 777, a symbol that you are ready to move from the perception of error to the realization of your eternal perfection. Let us explore the mechanism of this universal hypnosis. It begins not in some distant theological realm, but in the very cradle of our human experience. From our earliest moments, we are immersed in a world of conditioning, a world that operates on a fundamental principle of duality, good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure. A child is praised for certain behaviors and corrected for others. This is the necessary structure of human society, but it carries a hidden, metaphysical cost. Without our conscious awareness, a seed is planted the idea that our worth, our very acceptability, is contingent upon our performance, our appearance, or our conformity to an external standard. We learn that love is something to be earned, that safety is something to be secured, and that our inherent state is one of lack, waiting to be filled from a source outside of ourselves. This conditioning hardens into a lens through which we perceive all of reality. Consider the simple, daily experience of making a mistake at your work. The human reaction, the reaction of the world, is one of judgment. You feel a pang of embarrassment, a flush of shame. The mind instantly narrates a story of inadequacy. I am not competent enough. I should have known better. What will they think of me? This is not merely a thought. It is the activation of the central illusion. You have confused a single, transient event in the panorama of your life with the eternal truth of your being. You have accepted the mirage of a faulty self. The world's entire system, from education to commerce to social interaction, is built upon and reinforces this illusion. It is a collective agreement that we are all separate, incomplete beings on a quest to fix ourselves to become something other than what we are. This quest manifests as the endless pursuit of what the world calls solutions. You feel a sense of inner emptiness, and the world whispers that a new possession, a new relationship, or a new achievement will fill the void. And for a fleeting moment, it seems to work. The new car brings a thrill, the promotion a surge of validation. But soon, the thrill fades, the validation is forgotten, and the underlying sense of, I am not enough, returns, perhaps even stronger than before. This is the cruel trick of the hypnosis. It directs you to seek the answer where the answer cannot be found. In the realm of effect, in the outer world of form. You are trying to use the very mechanism that created the problem to solve it. It is like trying to use a dirty lens to clean itself. The effort only spreads the grime, the pain you experience, the anxiety, the fear, the loneliness is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that you are believing a lie about yourself. The pain is the friction between your innate, spiritual perfection and the false identity you have been wearing like an ill-fitting suit. Your own being is rebelling against the confinement of the illusion. The feeling of lack is not your lack. It is the shadow cast by the belief in lack. The sense of fear is not your true state of being. It is the turbulence created when the infinite, fearless nature of spirit is compressed into the limited concept of a vulnerable physical self. This is why all true spiritual work is a process of unlearning, not one of accumulation. We are not here to build a better, more spiritual persona. We are here to dismantle the persona entirely, to see through its claims and its dramas. When a feeling of inadequacy arises, instead of accepting its verdict and scrambling to prove it wrong, you must learn to pause and inquire, is this sensation of inadequacy the truth of what I am, or is it merely a thought, a conditioned pattern passing through the awareness that I am? You do not fight the shadow, you simply turn on the light. The light is the conscious recognition of your true nature as pure awareness. The silent witness that observes the feeling of inadequacy without becoming it. This is not a passive philosophy. It is the most active work you will ever undertake. It requires vigilant attention in every mundane moment. Stuck in traffic, feeling the rise of impatience and frustration, you have a choice to identify with the impatient self who is being wronged by the universe, or to recognize this is the hypnosis of a separate, needy self reacting. My true being is at peace, untouched by traffic jams, in a conflict with a loved one, instead of solidifying into the story of being the injured party. You can look past the personality to the truth. The anger and hurt I feel are waves on the ocean of my being. They are not the ocean itself. Beneath this storm, what I am remains whole, complete, and one with the being of the other. This is how you break the spell. Not by fighting the shadows, but by ceasing to believe they have any substance independent of the light you are. This world of hypnosis, this collective dream of duality, is not a passive backdrop to our lives. It is an active, intelligent force of suggestion that operates with the precision of a universal law. It presents itself not as a philosophy to be debated, but as the only reality, the solid ground beneath our feet. We are born into its narrative, and we swim in its currents every moment, so much so that we mistake its voice for our own. This is the great deception. The world's judgment appears as your conscience. The world's fears manifest as your own intuition for self-preservation. The world's desires feel like your deepest personal yearnings. You believe you are thinking your own thoughts, feeling your own feelings, when in fact you are participating in a vast, impersonal dream of life in which good and evil, health and sickness, abundance and lack are accepted as the fundamental poles of existence. Consider the simple, everyday experience of watching the news. A report comes on about a looming economic downturn. Immediately, a subtle shift occurs within you. A tension gathers in the shoulders. The mind, without your conscious permission, begins to project a future of lack, of insecurity, of potential loss. This is not your fear. This is the world's fear. You have opened a channel to the universal belief in a power apart from God, a power that can give and a power that can take away, and you have allowed it to register in your body and mind as your personal reality. You have accepted the suggestion. Or you walk past a mirror and a critical thought arises about your appearance. That thought did not originate in the kingdom of heaven within you. It was implanted by a world that worships an image, a world that measures value by the transient and ever-changing standards of form. You have mistaken the world's hypnosis of error for a personal, private failing. This hypnosis is what the masters have often called the carnal mind, or the adversary. It is not a devil with a pitchfork, but a persuasive sense of a self that is separate from its source, a self that is therefore vulnerable, competitive, and perpetually insecure. Its entire existence depends on your belief in it. It cannot create, it can only mimic, distort, and rearrange the one divine substance into a panorama of problems to be solved. It offers you a dizzying array of solutions, all of which are designed to keep you trapped within the dream. It says, you are sick, and then presents you with 1,000 remedies, ensuring your focus remains on the sickness. It whispers, you are lacking, and then sets you on a frantic quest for more money, more status, more approval, ensuring your gaze is forever turned outward, away from the infinite well within. The thrill of this realization is that the world, in its hypnotic state, has no power of its own. Its only power is the power you grant it through your faith, your belief, your acceptance of its testimony as truth. When you feel a wave of anxiety about a future event, you are giving substance to a phantom. You are bowing down to a mirage and calling it real. The event is not the cause of your anxiety. Your acceptance of the world's suggestion that the event has power over your peace is the cause. Your peace is your native state, and it can only be disturbed by a consent within your own consciousness to believe something else. Therefore, the spiritual journey is not one of changing the world, but of withdrawing our faith from the world's dream and reinvesting it in the one reality. It is a moment-by-moment practice of discernment. When a thought of condemnation toward another person arises, you must pause and recognize this is the voice of the hypnosis. It is seeking to divide and separate. The truth is, the Christ, the pure being of that individual, is one with my own, untouched by this drama. When a physical pain appears, instead of immediately accepting the world's verdict of sickness, you can turn within and know this body is a temporary form, but the life animating it is whole, perfect, and eternal. I withdraw my belief from the appearance and place it on the underlying reality. You are not denying the appearance. You are denying the appearance the right to dictate your state of consciousness. You are breaking the agreement with the collective dream. This is the great inner work, the ultimate thrill of liberation, where you discover that the prison door was never locked. It was only your conviction that it was locked that held you captive. What remains when the hypnosis is recognized for the illusion it is? What is this, you, that exists when the world's judgments fall away and the frantic search for external solutions ceases? It is not a new, improved version of the old self. It is not a self at all, as the world understands the term. This is the great revelation that shatters the dream of duality. Your true identity is already perfect and whole. It is the very substance of your being, the I am that was before the world, was untouched by the narratives of success or failure, health or sickness, purity or sin that have been projected upon it. You are not a flawed creature in need of repair. You are the spiritual being having a human experience, and that core identity is the very emanation of God, forever complete, forever at peace. This truth is not something you must strive to become. Striving itself is the language of the hypnosis, the frantic effort of the mirage to become real. Your work is one of yielding, of consent, of allowing this eternal truth to reveal itself to you. It is like the sun that has been obscured by a dense bank of clouds. You do not need to create the sun. You simply need to watch as the clouds, which are the thoughts and beliefs of the conditioned self, drift apart through your non-attention to them. The sunlight of your true nature has always been shining. The sense of being a separate, struggling entity is the cloud, not the sky. When you feel a surge of joy for no reason, a moment of pure peace while looking at a tree, or a spontaneous feeling of compassion that arises without calculation, you are catching a glimpse of the sun. You are experiencing a moment of grace where the hypnosis has thinned and your innate being is shining through, unmediated by the mind's commentary. This realization transforms your relationship with daily life. You begin to see that every challenge, every irritation, every moment of fear is not an obstacle to your peace, but the very occasion for its discovery. The problem is no longer the problem. The problem is your identification with the one who has the problem. When a financial worry arises, instead of being consumed by the drama of the story, the numbers in the bank account, the looming bills, you can turn your gaze inward. You can ask, who is the one that is worried? Is this worry the truth of what I am, or is it a storm on the surface of a vast, silent ocean. By shifting your attention from the content of the worry to the awareness that is aware of the worry, you are doing the profound work of self-remembrance. You are affirming, my identity is not in these finances. My identity is the very life that animates me, the infinite source from which all form proceeds. The same applies to your relationships. The conflicts you experience are almost never between two true selves, but between two sets of conditioned hypnoses, two bundles of past hurts and future fears masquerading as people. When you feel hurt by another's words, the old pattern demands defense, retaliation, or withdrawal. But from the standpoint of your true identity, you can respond differently. You can look past the personality of the other, past your own reactive personality, and acknowledge the one Christ, the one perfect being, shining, however dimly, in both of you. You do not condone harmful behavior, but you cease to be its victim by recognizing that it cannot touch what you truly are. Your peace is no longer held hostage by another person's actions. You are free to respond with wisdom and love, not because you are a saint, but because you are anchored in the rock of your own divine nature, which is love itself. This is the ultimate secret, the open mystery. The kingdom of heaven is not a location you go to, but the fundamental reality of what you are. Your entire spiritual journey, therefore, is a homecoming. It is a gradual, or sometimes sudden, awakening to the fact that you have never been separate. You have never been broken. You have never been anything less than the beloved expression of the infinite. The hunger you have felt your entire life was not for something you lacked, but for the truth of what you already are. The peace you have sought in 1,000 external places was never out there. It was the very ground upon which you were standing while you searched the world for it. To know this is to be free. To live from this is to transform the world not by fighting it, but by seeing through it, revealing it for what it has always been, a perfect, whole, and complete spiritual idea appearing as form. This brings us to the very heart of the sacred activity, the great turning point in the journey from sense to soul. If your true identity is already and eternally perfect, then the entire focus of your life must shift from one of acquisition to one of relinquishment. You are not called to build a better, more spiritual self, but to see through the illusion of the self you have believed yourself to be. This is the profound and radical work of unlearning. It is not the accumulation of more knowledge, more virtue, or more power. It is the conscious, deliberate letting go of the entire mental and emotional framework that constitutes the hypnosis of a life separate from God. The truth is not something you achieve. It is something you uncover by removing everything that obscures it. Think of your consciousness as a clear, still pond. The water is naturally pure and reflective, capable of perfectly mirroring the sky above. This is your native state. But throughout your life, the world has been throwing mud and stones into this pond. The mud of its judgments, the stones of its fears and desires. The water is now turbid, churned, and muddy, You can no longer see the reflection of the sky. The conventional approach is to try to add something to the pond. Perhaps a chemical to clear the water, or a new, more beautiful reflection to imitate the sky. But the spiritual path of unlearning is different. It is the patient, persistent process of allowing the mud to settle. You stop agitating the water. You cease adding new debris. You simply become still. And in that stillness, the impurities, having no energy to sustain them, sink of their own weight, and the inherent clarity of the water is naturally restored. This practice unfolds in the raw material of your daily existence. It is not a meditation you perform for 20 minutes a day, but a continuous orientation of your attention. For instance, you are driving your car and another driver cuts you off. The immediate, automatic reaction is a surge of anger. The old self, the hypnosis, feels personally violated. It wants to honk the horn, to shout, to cling to the grievance. This is the mud being churned. The practice of unlearning begins the moment you become aware of this reaction. You do not try to force the anger away, for that is just more churning. Instead, you simply witness it. You notice the heat in your face, the tightening in your chest, the violent thoughts racing through your mind. And you inwardly acknowledge, this is the reaction of the conditioned self. It is not who I am. I am the awareness watching this storm. You do not feed the story. You do not justify your right to be angry. You withdraw the energy of your belief from it. You let the mud settle, and in the space that follows, a different response may arise, perhaps a calm release, or even a silent blessing for the other driver. This is not a response you manufactured. It is the natural, clear water of your being reflecting itself now that the agitation has ceased. The same principle applies to deeper, more entrenched patterns. A feeling of deep, seated unworthiness may surface. The world's solution is to build up your self-esteem, to gather achievements and affirmations to prove your worth. But this is just adding more concepts to the pond. The path of unlearning invites you to sit with the feeling of unworthiness itself, to look directly at it without judgment or resistance, to ask, what is this sensation? Where does it reside? Is it a solid, real thing, or is it a pattern of energy, a thought, form that I have mistakenly called? As you stop fighting it and stop believing it, you withdraw its substance. It is like a shadow that persists only as long as you turn your back to the light. When you turn and face it, you see it has no substance of its own. This is the sacred, inner alchemy, not changing the lead of your faults into the gold of virtue, but realizing the lead was never real to begin with, thus revealing the gold that was always there. This is why the greatest spiritual work often feels like doing nothing. It is a profound inactivity, a conscious cessation of the mind's compulsive interference. It is the ultimate act of faith to stop trying to fix yourself and to instead trust that the perfect life of God is already functioning as your very being. You are not the one who is anxious. You are the awareness in which anxiety appears and disappears. You are not the one who is lacking. You are the infinite consciousness temporarily believing in a story of lack. Every moment you spend in simple, wordless awareness of your inner state without trying to change, it is a moment you are practicing the supreme art of unlearning. You are disidentifying from the dream and anchoring yourself in the one who dreams, only to discover that the dreamer itself is a dream, and what remains is the boundless, silent, and perfect I am. The entire structure of the hypnosis, the very foundation of the sense of a separate self, rests upon one fundamental and erroneous belief, that there is a power apart from God. This is the axis upon which the world of good and evil turns. Your fear exists because you believe there is something to fear, a power that can harm you. Your lack persists because you believe in a power that can withhold. Your sickness holds sway because you believe in a power that can attack the perfection of life itself. But I say to you, this is the grand illusion. There is only one power, one presence, one activating principle in all of the universe, and that is God, the infinite mind, the divine love, the absolute life. To know this not as a theological concept, but as the living truth of your own being, is to see the walls of your prison vanish into thin air. This is not a truth you can afford to keep in the realm of abstract philosophy. It must become the very lens through which you perceive every circumstance. When a storm of fear gathers on your horizon, be it a health diagnosis, a financial reversal, or a relational conflict, the hypnosis will scream with 1,000 voices, presenting evidence of a hostile power arrayed against you. Your spiritual work in that moment is to be still and to know. To know that the appearance, no matter how formidable, is not the truth. The truth is that the one divine presence is the only substance and the only power in that situation. It is the very intelligence of the cells in your body, the very substance of your supply, the very activity of harmony in your relationships. Your work is not to fight the storm, but to turn your gaze so completely to the sun that the storm, deprived of your belief, loses all its substance and force. Consider a challenge you may face in your work, a project that seems insurmountable, fraught with obstacles and potential for failure. The conventional mind, the hypnosis, sees only the limitations, not enough time, not enough resources, not enough skill. It perceives a dozen different powers working against you. But the consciousness anchored in the truth perceives only one power. It does not deny the appearance of obstacles, but it sees them as insubstantial shadows cast by the belief in many powers. Your task then shifts from battling these separate problems to becoming a clear transparency for the one power to express itself as the needed idea, the right contact, the unexpected solution. You are not a solitary individual trying to summon enough personal power to overcome the world. You are an individualization of the one power through which it flows as infinite wisdom and capability. The feeling of burden lifts when you realize you are not carrying the load. You are the channel through which the divine energy moves to accomplish what needs to be done. This understanding utterly transforms your relationship with other people. You can now look past the frustrating behavior, the hurtful words, the seemingly separate will of another, and recognize that there is, in truth, only one will, one mind in operation. The other person, in their essence, is this same one life expressing itself. Their negative behavior is not the activity of a powerful, separate self, but a distorted expression of the one life, clouded by the same hypnosis you are learning to see through. When you cease reacting to their error as a real power, you are withdrawing the energy that sustains it. You are holding the space for the truth of their being to appear. You are not fighting a person. You are recognizing the Christ in them, which is never sick, never sinful, never separate. This is the most powerful form of prayer. The silent acknowledgement of the one presence and power, where the appearance of another power seems to be. To live this is to move through the world with a secret immunity. The world will continue to present its testimonies of many powers, of economies that crash, of viruses that spread, of hearts that break. But you will have found the rock of certainty within. You will know that these are waves on the surface of the ocean, but the depths of the ocean, which is your true being, remain unmoved and powerful. Your life becomes not a struggle for survival, but a serene demonstration of the omnipotence of good. You are not trying to get God to help you. You are realizing that God is all there is, and what appears as you is that very activity and expression. Therefore, every challenge becomes an invitation to prove this principle, every fear a call to deeper realization, and every moment an opportunity to bear witness to the glorious and absolute fact that the kingdom, the power, and the glory are God's, all in all. The ultimate fulfillment of this journey is not an escape from the world of form, but a radical transformation of your experience within it. To live from the finished kingdom within is to stop seeking a spiritual state in a future time and to begin expressing the reality of your divine nature in the present, eternal moment. The kingdom is not a reward for correct thinking or righteous action. It is the fundamental premise of all that is. Your work is to bring your perception into alignment with this finished fact, to let this inner reality become the sole governor of your outer experience. You are not trying to become spiritual. You are learning to act from the truth that you already are spirit, here and now, and to let that truth govern your every thought, word, and deed. This is where the abstract becomes concrete, where the principle touches the pavement of your daily life. It means that you no longer approach your work from a sense of personal ambition or a fear of lack, but from the quiet certainty that the one mind is expressing its infinite creativity and abundance through your unique faculties. The pressure to make something happen dissolves into the peace of allowing divine activity to flow. You will find yourself taking inspired actions that seem to come through you, not from you. A solution to a problem presents itself not from frantic calculation, but from a spontaneous intuition that arises in a moment of inner stillness. A new opportunity appears not as the result of aggressive networking, but as a natural unfoldment of the infinite supply expressing itself as your career. You are not a beggar in the marketplace of life. You are a beholder of the divine activity, and your role is to be a willing and transparent instrument. This conscious living from the kingdom utterly revolutionizes your relationships. You cease demanding that other people fill a void within you, for you have discovered the kingdom within is complete. Your interactions are no longer transactions of need, but are instead spontaneous expressions of the love that you are. You can love without clutching, give without depletion, and be with others without losing yourself. When conflict arises, you do not reach for the weapons of the old self, defensiveness, manipulation, blame. Instead, you turn within, you touch that place of wholeness, and you respond from there. Your words may be firm, your boundaries clear, but they will be delivered from a foundation of peace, not from the turbulence of reaction. You are able to see the Christ in the other, even when their personality is clouded. And this silent recognition becomes the most powerful healing agent in the relationship. Even your physical body is transformed by this orientation of consciousness. You stop seeing it as a fragile, biological machine doomed to sickness and decay, and you begin to treat it as the living temple of the one divine life. You care for it not out of fear of disease, but out of reverence for the spirit that indwells it. The aches, pains, and illnesses that appear are no longer greeted with terror as powerful adversaries, but are met with the same conscious knowing. This appearance of discord is not the truth of this body. The truth is that the one perfect life flows through it as vitality, harmony, and wholeness. You rest in this knowledge. You withdraw the fearful mental energy you had been feeding the appearance, and you allow the inherent divine intelligence of your body to reassert its natural state of balance. You are not a victim of a body. You are the spiritual consciousness that animates a body. To live from this inner kingdom is to walk through the world while being not of it. The same sun rises, the same traffic jams occur, the same bills arrive in the mail. But you are different. You are a center of peace in the midst of chaos, a beacon of love where there is fear, a silent affirmation of wholeness in the face of apparent brokenness. Your life becomes a living prayer, a continuous demonstration that the kingdom of heaven is not a distant promise, but a present tense reality available to any consciousness that is still enough, yielded enough, and faithful enough to perceive it. You are not waiting for a spiritual experience. You are having one right now by the simple, profound, and revolutionary act of aligning your awareness with the finished and perfect work of the Father.